Charles Long,
Here.
Chris Martinson, Michael Shaw, Priscilla Manuelito, Kevin Mitchell.
Okay, I believe we have a quorum to conduct business, and I'd like to call the meeting to order at this time. Board members, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance and New Mexico flag pledge. Okay, thank you, board members, and thank you, those in the audience. Thank you for coming to our meeting. If you haven't eaten, we got refreshments back there, so you're welcome to that. Yeah. Let's go down to item number 2, approval of the agenda. What is the pleasure of the board?
President Long, I have a couple altercations or things I'd like to change on the agenda.
Okay.
The first one is I'd like to remove item 2B, which is recognition of the NMSBA scholarship, and we'd like to move that to the next meeting.
Okay.
And in addition to that, I just had my finger on it. Maybe Tim can help me. The Pine Hill Agreement, there it is. It is 4F. We would also like to take that item off the agenda for a further date.
Okay. Board members, the other one is the election of officers.
I would like to table it until all board members are present.
Okay. So with that, with those changes on the agenda, need a motion and a second to adopt the agenda.
I would. Second.
Okay, motion by Kevin Mitchell, second by Michael Schaaf to adopt the agenda. Roll call. Joan?
Kevin Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. I must say here again. With that, we've approved our agenda, and let's go down to item 3, approval of meeting minutes from the June 18th meeting.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Okay, Michael Schaaf moved to approve the meeting minutes of June 18th. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Abstain.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. So we approve the meeting minutes. Let's go down to item 4, approval of consent agenda items.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items with 4F being taken off.
Okay, motion's been made. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes. Okay, so we've approved the consent agenda items. Let's go down to item 5, study circle, public comment. Okay, we don't have any requests for public comment. Let's go down to 5B, reports. Mike?
Sure. President Long, members of the board, we are excited this evening, and if you couldn't tell from the newspaper and some of the meetings we've been having, we've been celebrating our student success on the PARCC exam this past year. And so this evening, what we'd like to do is to give you a report, and maybe we want to do a little bit more reporting next time when we have more board members here, or we can share that with them also, the good results. And so we're excited to have Mr. Harasik, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, to kind of go over those results and explain to you, and we haven't received all of the data yet regarding PARCC exam. This is, what we're going to report tonight on is simply those students that were not proficient that became proficient. And so again, this is just one piece of the scope of data that we look at. What's more important is we look at every single individual student, how much they've grown. We just don't have all that data yet. But when you see a number of students, 600 going from not proficient to proficient in our district, that is a good indicator of the success that we'll continue to see as more data is delivered to us and provided to us by the state of New Mexico. So I am going to ask Mr. Harasik to take over now and give a report on some of the highlights. And please ask questions. We can go into more detail. We'll probably have other meetings where we discuss this data again as we have the state deliver and provide more information.
Okay, thank you, Mike. And I'd like to thank the assistant superintendents for helping this evening. I always appreciate you guys being here to help us. And I want to thank staff of the school district that are here. Thank you for coming. And just make sure you take care of yourself when you guys are going home. So with that, Gerald.
Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Hyatt, members of the audience, this is really an exciting time. I want to do a few thank yous and then I'll get into the data. I'll keep it brief, but we want to definitely thank the parents, the students, the teachers, the principals, and the support staff at the schools for this data that you're about to see, because it is really, truly awesome data. And we have to take advantage of it, right, when we can, because it's really powerful. And it's not an accident. We did not arrive at these scores by accident. It's structures and systems put in place so that we can help students. And I also want to thank the district staff across the board. Also, Tim, Pauletta, and Giovanna, their departments, personnel, student support services, is that right, Pauletta? And business also helps with that process. And most importantly for us, I really want to thank the board because your support behind the scenes for what Mr. Hyatt did and the changes he made at central office are a huge reason why you're going to see the data that you see. So I just can't thank you enough for that piece. And with that, we'll get started. So page 2 on your document in front of you. We're going to talk about elementary 2-year proficiency growth. So we are just talking about students that are proficiency growth rate, not individual student growth. For the 2-year elementary growth, that's really from last year to this year. There's a set of schools you have, and Kevin, I think from your angle it's a little tough to see. It's pretty good from yours. I was up there yesterday. Yeah. Tohatchi Elementary grew 13%. Rama L 11.85. This is in English language arts. You have Red Rock, Roosevelt Elementary, and Stagecoach. Now we had more schools that grew, but we just wanted to pull out those that grew the most. So we have plenty that actually grew in English language arts at the elementary level. And now the next piece is on the screen, math growth. So just look at Rama L from last year to this year. In 1 year, they grew 14.55% as a whole at the school. That's counting grades 3 and 4 and 5 combined. And you have Red Rock, Tohatchi L, Chi Dodge, and Navajo Elementary. And the other thing I want to point out is just look at the schools that are represented on the graph. They are from all parts of the district. So we can say as a district, we are doing things for a school that is far away from central office or in town that work. And that is probably the most important thing from within my department that we look at is, are we reaching all schools, not just a certain set of schools? Okay. And now we're going to go back to the 2016 year to current, so that's 3-year growth for our schools. And here's your top performing English language arts schools for that growth period. Look at Rama L, over 23%. Tohatchi Elementary, almost 12%. Turpin, over 11% in English language arts. And then you have, for math, just want to point out Rama, almost 25% growth over a couple of years. Chi Dodge, Tohatchi Elementary, Jefferson, and Roosevelt.
Mr. Harasik?
Yes.
I want to frame this in perspective of the state of New Mexico. Maybe you were going to do this in a minute.
I am. It's coming up. I'll go right ahead.
Okay, but I hate to look at this data without understanding what the average for the state of New Mexico was, because I think that really puts it in perspective. The growth for English language arts for New Mexico as a whole was 2.5%. Go ahead, sorry.
Great. And I'll get to that towards the end. It's awesome. No, it's just really, really good stuff. So 2-year growth from middle schools now, Through middle school, 1 year, grew 11.87% in English language arts. Tehachapi Middle School, 9.72. You have Gallup Mid, Chief Manuelinto, and Crown Point. And once again, just look at the mix of schools and where they come from. It's really powerful. And then for math, Crown Point Middle, 11.3%, Chief Manuelito, 8.7, and Gallup Mid, 4.48. And we have our 3-year growth from 2016 to 2018. Once again, in English language arts, you have through middle, Gallup Middle, Tehachapi Middle, Crown Point Middle, and Chief Manuelito Middle School. And then for math, Crown Point Middle at 13.37%. So I just want to I want you to look at Crown Point. So if you added the 2 years for Crown Point Middle, the 2 data points, 11.3 and 13.37, think about that. That actually comes out to what, a little over 24%, almost 25%. That's really just over 2 years. What a difference in kids who are now college and career ready. Just really powerful data, powerful information. And I do want to share that the Secretary of Education, he goes by CO, I think his name is Chris Wazkowski. So he has a Twitter page, he has a Twitter handle that he uses, and he put Crown Point Elementary on there, Crown Point Middle School on there today to celebrate that specific data of those two data points combined. It's over almost 25% growth just in that short time frame. And now we go to our high schools, 2-year proficiency growth. So in ELA, it's really just from last year to this year, Miami has grown 13.66%. Rama High, 13.3. You have Gallup High, Crown Point High, and through High. And then 2-year growth in math, Crown Point High is 3.38, Gallup High is 2.87, and Miami is 2.43. And then over 3 years, there's your schools represented again. I mean, just look at Miramira, 17.16% in ELA. Rama High, 12.3%. And then in math, you have Miramira at 3.93, Tehachapi High at 2.62, and then you have Gallup High. So this brings us to what Mr. Hyatt was talking about just a minute ago. This is where it is incredibly powerful, because let's just look back at the history of where Gallup McKinley County schools were years ago in the view of the state. And today we look at 2-year growth. So in English language arts, in this last year, the statewide average for English language arts growth was 2.5%. Look at our district, 5.6%. That is more alone right there, that doubled, more than doubled the state average just for ELA. And then in math, the statewide growth in math, last 2 years, 1.9%. We are at 2.1%. And then go back to your 3-year growth for the state, 3.5, and we're at 7.9. Statewide is 1.7 over 3 years, and we're at 2.6. And you can look at the 4-year growth, statewide 4.7. Look at our district in ELA, 11.2. Should make everyone smile, especially the principals sitting in here, because it's hard work, isn't it, to be successful. It just is a lot of hard work. And then statewide for math was 4.2%, and district-wide is 5.8%. And I want to stress again before I get to the next slide, because there's some more powerful data coming. These scores are not accidents. And we know that it's the sites and the parents and the students that really do the work. But what we're most excited about at the district level is we see it everywhere. We just don't see one really great school doing well, because then what you have is a great principal. And you have some issues at the district level, but we see district-wide data beating the state average. We know we're doing things really well at the district level to support principals and parents and students at the school sites. So Mr. Hyatt talked about this earlier, but just in 1 year, we have 600 more students proficient in ELA or math. That's 600 more students, college and career ready, from the Gallup McKinley County area. It's just awesome. And then if you go back 2 years, you would take the 600 and you would add 204 more, and we have 804 more students proficient in ELA and math. Do you remember when I came in front of you, and it might have been a year ago, and we talked about the curriculum? You had a curriculum document, and I know Mr. Mortensen had a lot of questions for me.
Yeah.
But our schools follow that, and Mr. Hyatt had the principals in here this week, and he had them kind of shout out what the most important things were that helped this happen. And the number one was that curriculum document. I think it had 11 votes, the highest. So it means that they're really using that at the school level. And then the last slide is, Mr. Hyatt made sure we are aware of this at the principals meetings in the paper, but the GMCS students are number 1 in ELA proficiency growth out of the 10 largest districts. We're number 3 in math proficiency out of the 10 largest districts. For perspective, we're number 1 ELA over Albuquerque, over Los Alamos, over Las Cruces, over Roswell, all of your big districts. And then over Farmington. And then in math, we're number 3. And do you remember who is ahead of us in math? I don't remember in the last year. I can't remember the 2 schools. Farmington might be one.
Farmington and Gadsden.
Farmington and Gadsden, the only 2 schools ahead of us in math. And the last one, GMCS students more than doubled, and you saw that earlier. We more than doubled the state average when you combine ELA and math. And our ELA and math district-wide, we more than doubled the state average. And I think the last thing that I would end with is the fact that Mr. Hyatt has said this, that it's the best proficiency growth in the history of the district, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any questions?
Board members, I just want to commend the assistant superintendents and the staff of the district for doing a fabulous job. Give yourself a hand.
It's good stuff.
Good job, good job. Keep it up. I think what we're doing is working. We just need to make some tweaks and improvements here and there. And again, you know, I think this is a great growth that we're seeing within the school district, and I appreciate Superintendent Hyatt for the leadership too, and board members and Hiro. Thank you. We're trying to stay ahead of everything, provide directions and all that, but you know, I'm glad that you guys are doing a fabulous job. Yeah, keep it up. Any comments?
President, I just would like to, you know, say I really appreciate the job that our administration is doing, as well as our principals, our teachers, our students, and our parents. You know, it takes working together in order to make things like this happen. And I'm very proud to be able to say that, you know, I am part of Gallup McKinley County School District, seeing how our kids are doing so well due to the education that our teachers and principals are providing for them. Thank you.
President Long, members of the board, this is the first time, except in a negative way, Gallup McKinley County Schools have been number 1 in things. And so I think this is an exciting time to celebrate again our students, our staff, and all the people that for many years have been working to try to figure out what works for our students, what works for Gallup McKinley County Schools. And I truly believe that as the years have gone on, we continually get our feet more underneath us, and we're getting ready to, instead of walk, getting ready to run. And I think in addition to that, people need to also understand that we're not, just because we did well in our growth and our students are growing faster than other districts on average and doubling the state, that's not enough, because our proficiency rates still need to grow even more. It was a goal. We're catching districts, though. We used to be so far behind that it almost seemed hopeless because we weren't moving. Now that we're moving at a fast pace, we're catching up to these large districts that were ahead of us in proficiency rates. So we're really close to passing Hobbs, property-rich district, compared to our district, very property-poor district. We're very my goal within 2 years was to pass Santa Fe. Next year, we can pass Santa Fe proficiency. And when have we ever been able to talk about that? When have our students been able to say that we're in the ball game now, and we can learn just like everybody else, and we can perform, and we are just really excited for them, excited for our students. Being on track for college and career is huge for our students, because Our economic situation in our county is slightly improved, but there's a lot more work that needs to be done, and we're a part of that work as a school district. So thank you.
Okay. With that, I guess we move on. Sandra? I know she was way back there. Good evening, Sandra. And I want to thank Cindy for being here too. I know she followed me from Crown Point.
President Long, members of the board, you did ask for an ESS update, and then we also, you may have asked for staffing also, but I couldn't remember. I know we've talked about it every meeting, but I also wanted Sandra Lee to also talk about where we're at with staffing. We've been getting some questions from media and such, so Sandra.
Good evening, President Long, members of the board, Superintendent Hyatt and Nez. Thank you for the opportunity to update you on staffing and ESS tonight.
Can you turn your microphone on?
Hello?
There you go.
Great, thank you.
You've arrived.
In regards to staffing, the principals have done a good job filling vacancies this summer, especially considering the teacher shortage that we have in the state of New Mexico right now. As of today, we have 7 core classroom vacancies in the district. Elementary schools have 5 openings, and secondary schools have 2 openings as of today. With our salary increases and incentives, the district is very competitive, and we have been aggressively recruiting. This past spring, we continued to attend job fairs, advertise in local and regional newspapers, recruit online, and also offer our staff and now our community members a recruiting incentive for helping to bring a new teacher into our school district. With 2.5 weeks before school starts, the principals with teaching vacancies are continuing to interview all qualified applicants, and we are hopeful that our vacancy number will be even less than it is today. And in regards to ESS, the district began partnering with ESS in mid-April. The transition has been very successful. ESS is now managing the hiring, recruiting, training, licensing, evaluation, and payroll for all substitute teachers, and it has alleviated administrative burdens at school sites and also here in the central office. We surveyed the teachers, administrators, school site secretaries that used to handle substitute teaching, and the substitutes themselves, and the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive from them. We feel the most important aspect of this partnership is that we now have the resources and data to fine-tune and improve our substitute teaching program so that we can better serve our students. The partnership has allowed the district to provide higher quality training and, most importantly, ongoing support to our substitutes so learning continues when a teacher is absent from school. Our substitutes now have a full-time staff member, Monica Murillo, who's in the audience tonight. Her office is in the district office here, and she is available to help substitutes, teachers, administrators, secretary with any of their needs. Also in the audience is Joseph Fitzgerald. He's from the ESS National Office, so they again have a back office to help with our administrative needs that we used to handle at school sites and here in personnel in the business office. Our substitutes have access to higher quality training and support, and that is really our main focus. They also have online learning modules to help them become even better substitute teachers. We continue to rely on our principals, our head teachers, and our ICs to communicate with us, and now of course with ESS to let us know about their needs, and we want to provide as much support as possible. The partnership with ESS has provided a lot of valuable data for us as well in terms of recruiting for our substitute teachers. So we have access now to a program called ASOP, It's a software system that gives us our fill rates on a daily basis. So we can now identify the specific schools that are having trouble filling their vacancies when a teacher is absent. So we now know exactly where we need to focus our recruiting efforts so that a classroom always has a teacher or substitute teacher available. This upcoming year, we plan to continue monitoring and evaluating the partnership to make sure that our substitute program is improving, but also we are excited that we will begin to hire game workers through ESS as well. We'll be announcing to the principals the process for this next week, and we look forward to that transition as well. At this time, I'm happy to address any questions about staffing or ESS.
Questions, board members?
I just wonder, the system that's up, is the program, say a teacher calls in that morning, nauseous, sick or whatever, can't make it in. So then, what's the turnaround time in finding a sub then?
Right. Sure. For last minute absences, we are asking the teachers to create an absence in the online software program as well as notify the school site because of the short notice. And so as soon as they create an absence in ASOP, it goes online. All substitutes could log in anytime at all to see that a job is available. But we also know that secretaries and principals would like to know that information right away, and they too can log in anywhere, but it's always nice to get that text message or phone call in the morning also from the teacher so that school sites can still call substitutes that they feel may be available to take the job in the morning.
Also, you mentioned that these subs have access to online training and other training that is being provided. Are those mandatory trainings, or is there some type of incentive for a sub who does all these trainings as far as being maybe on the list for first call, or I don't know?
Sure. So it is mandatory for all of the ESS substitutes to participate in a 5-hour in-person training before they start substitute teaching for us. And so we actually have a retired administrator, Vicki Blackburn, who is running those trainings for ESS right now. The online trainings offer support from everything from classroom management to instructional strategies. It really is something that is of a great benefit to the substitute teachers so that they can become better. Monica is there to help in person if necessary, but we really ask our school sites to communicate with us regarding the needs that they see and can identify for us. Now, in terms of an incentive, the trainings are simply required. There really is no incentive when substitute teachers open their ASOP system or call in. It's really the first sub that takes the job gets the position for the day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And we go to reports C.
President Long, members of the board, we've also this evening asked for a third presentation. We usually don't do so many presentations, but there's a lot of exciting things happening in the district as school gets started, and we're starting to see some results from last year. I have invited 2 principals this evening who have been a part of a pilot project in the state of New Mexico and for our district in what's called an academic parent-teacher teams. And we've talked a little bit about this, but you may not remember. But essentially, this is Mike Hyatt's version. It's just a new way of doing business with respect to parent-teacher conferences. And the state has recognized the need for utilizing that time in a better way. And I am also on that same side of the fence in that I think for parent-teacher conferences that there are many things that we can do better as a district for our students and for our parents so that they are a part of the learning process and not just a spectator. And so I have two principals here today that I'd like to invite up. We have Jessica Landavazo-Guillen, who is the principal of Jefferson Elementary, and Cindy Arsenault, who is the principal of Crown Point Elementary. And they have been troopers in being a part of this project, and they're going to talk a little bit about some of the successes and some of the feedback they've received as they've gone through this process for 2 years. Thank you.
Good evening, President Long, board members, and Superintendent Hyatt. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak about our academic parent-teacher teams. As Mr. Hyatt said, we both began piloting this program year before last. We started at a small scale, only some grade levels, and last year we expanded to K through 5, so every grade, every classroom was a part of this program. As he said, it is a new framework for doing parent-teacher conferences. In the past, we always have focused on parent involvement, getting parents in the school, and we want to shift that into parent engagement. We want the parents engaged with what we're doing in school, engaged with the activities, and engaged with their students at home as well.
So academic parent-teacher teams really focuses on bringing in parents and teaching them how they can help their kids at home. And coming from the classroom, as Jessica is as well, this answers the question of what can I do with my kid at home? This is the answer. We actually provide materials for parents to take home and practice with their children. They actually play the games and the activities in the meetings, and then the games that the kids have played also in class, so they take them home and work with them. We have found great strides for parents that are doing this. I know at my school, and I think at Jessica's as well, we've halved the number of kids who are not performing in basic skills in K through 3 for sure. We're still working the 4 or 5 data, it's not as conclusive. But we're seeing that parents are going home being like, I can spend 15 minutes 3 times a week doing this with my kid, and our basic skills, fluency in math, sight words are increasing. So we are seeing growth there. The flyer that you have really kind of lays out what is the academic parent-teacher teams. It is, instead of 2 meetings a year, it is a 4 meeting, an hour-and-a-half meeting, give or take, 4 times a year, where you meet and you network with the parents.
So actually 3 of the meetings are whole group meetings, so we invite the entire class's parents in for the meeting, and then once a year is an individual conference, so you still have that one-on-one conference with the parents as well. But the group meetings are centered around team building, so really getting to know those parents and networking, as Cindy said. It's about showing them data, because we know data drives all of our instruction. It drives what we're doing in the classroom. So we use data, show them that. It is very confidential data, but they get to see it over the whole class. Then we go into the specific skill we're working on and why that skill is important. We teach them activities to go with that skill, and it's usually 2 activities. We give the parents time to practice, and then we ask parents to set a goal for their kid. So this helps us get the buy-in, because if they see their student is low performing and they want to get them up to grade level, then we ask them to set a goal and ask them to be realistic about it. And we have these 3 times, again, at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year. I also have 2 parents with me who are going to speak on behalf of Jefferson Elementary and what they thought of the program. I have Shauna Benali, who has 1 child at Jefferson, and Diana Graham, who has 2 children at Jefferson. So I'd like to bring them up so they can give you a little testimonial about what they thought of the program.
Good evening, members of the board, the superintendent, Charles Long, the people in the audience. I know a lot of you from working with the district for a long time. I'm just happy to be here and to just express how important a program like this impacts a community, a school, in bringing parents, because all of the parents have all kinds of jobs all over the place. So they come home and they're tired. And the strategies that I've seen with this program really makes an impact on the child, because they can take these activities and games anywhere. They can take it on the road, they can take it to the flea market, they can take it wherever they are, because the kids are always repeating, they're always reminding. And so being a teacher, working with this district, I've went through several different kinds of programs. And the strategies I see here, I've seen in bits and pieces all over the place, and I've actually taught these strategies. And being on the other end, being a parent learning about these strategies was very powerful, because I remember going to our goal team meetings and looking at the data and all these things. And so looking at this, I was like, wow, this is awesome. I have my classroom, my son's teacher showing me this information, showing me the data, where they are compared to the district, compared like with the 3 schools. And so it's kind of the same format, but it informs a parent. So when you get a parent buy-in, it's very powerful, because your parent is going to vouch for you, and I'm an advocate of all children and their learning. So this was very powerful. And so just to see my son light up, and I'm like, wow, this is an awesome program. And going into Jefferson is so welcoming. The teachers, the staff, going in after, because they had their meeting at the right time. Because after school, because my tour duty ends about 4 o'clock. So I get back into Gallup, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had to feed something to my kids and go to this meeting. And they had it at the right time, where they were always welcoming, Ms. Guillen and the staff, so I really believe this is a very powerful program, and I would, if you allowed other parents in the district to experience this, it's very powerful. There's one anecdote I want to share before I leave. My washer broke down this past year. I was like, oh man, I hate going to the laundromat. So to keep my son occupied, we played a game with sight words. And so we had a little cup, and we're playing. And so it's a really neat game. And we got so into it, I just forgot about everything and people around us. My son, we were just there in that moment, the teachable moment. So when we work with parents, and as an educator, when you're working with a child and you notice that teachable moment, that moment where their eyes light up and you're like, wow, this is why I became a teacher. This is the reason. I felt that as a parent, and because usually it would be like, okay, let's read your book, and then we're like, they don't want to, they just want to go play. But these games and activities, combined with the information that you're giving at all these meetings, and having that connection with the teacher and the principal, and it made SST meetings more pleasurable. And it's just so inviting. So I think this is a very powerful program. And so I just want to thank the principal and the teachers. They were awesome. Even the cooks were there. They were providing us something to eat, So I think this is a very powerful program. So that's what I have to say. And do you have any questions or comments? Awesome.
A lot of energy. Real good, real good.
Good evening. My name is Diana Graham. I've got 2 children at Jefferson. I have a son who's entering 1st grade and a daughter who's entering 3rd grade. So I saw it on 2 different grade levels. So I had 2 different views of perspective. I'm going to go more on compare and contrast as far as the parent-teacher conferences versus the APTT meetings. For me, the APTT meetings were more beneficial to me as a parent, because it not only shows me the data as a class reference, comparing and contrasting, seeing the average of where on a grade level my child should be, versus just showing me a statewide iStation test on this is where your child is, this is where they should be, this is where they've grown, this is where they've not. So it kind of engaged me more with the teachers and with the students. It also helped me learn what they're learning, a method of how they're learning, as well as a method of how I can help my child or children learn at home. to where it also made it fun for me to help my children learn at home. I kind of get to the point where my husband and I build this little, there are different methods of teaching nowadays from what we used to learn in school. So being able to go to these APTT meetings where we are able to learn from the teacher what they're learning in class, good methods to help them out with their homework, good methods to help them out at home, it's very beneficial to, it's been very beneficial to us. Not only that, is it gives parents a more, not so, let's see, I don't know how to explain it or put it into words. It's not the, oh, let's do your homework, oh, let's work on your schoolwork, and then you get the, I don't want to, Mom, you don't understand how we're doing math. It kind of gives us a different spin on it to where we're like, hey, game night, Wednesday night game night, hour and a half. We'll do your game first, we'll do your game next. After we're done with your school games, we'll do Monopoly or something like that. So it also gives us something to focus on to where we're, as parents, we get so wrapped up in work, everyday life, running your kids around to school, to sports, we're everywhere. Life pulls you in so many different directions that it also gives us an opportunity to be able to unplug, put your phone away, and be able to focus on your kids in a way that you'll be able to connect with them one-on-one, as well as a family, to where you're actually understanding how they're working, and they get excited about it. Also, it kind of took some getting used to at first. Didn't really know what to expect the first go around with the meeting. By the second, third one, things seem to be going a whole lot more smoothly. I think as far as getting it into being, I don't know, tried out in different, more schools, it seemed a little bit more beneficial to me than just going to a parent-teacher conference, sitting down one-on-one, because it seems like in a parent-teacher conference, it's kind of quick. You've got so much time allotted during that day to get through how many parents and how many students. So a 15, 20-minute time limit to be able to go through and sit down and say, this is where your child is at, this is where they should be. It kind of doesn't really give you a whole lot of time to be, as a parent, to be able to ask, teachers, well, I understand they're struggling in math. What are good ways that I would be able to help my child one-on-one at home? So it's just definitely been more beneficial to us as a family.
Thank you.
Good. Questions?
Is it only offered right now at the two schools, or is it offered at other schools in the district?
President Long, Mr. Schaaf, it is currently just being piloted in those two schools, but as a part of our planning in the future, next year we plan to roll that out to the next half of the elementary schools, because we can't roll it out to everybody all at once because it's complicated. It may be complicated with an extra 8 or 9, but we plan to do that, and over the next 2 years have all elementary schools, and then even potentially start looking at ways in which we can incorporate. It's going to look a little different, middle schools and high schools, but for me personally, to be able to leverage that time parents have with their students, to have a better partnership and better parental involvement, I think we found something here that is valuable, that obviously is working. And we have parents here, I have parents come up to me, usually it's something of concern, as maybe the board members get at times. I have parents coming up to me talking about this. I had a parent not too long ago from Crown Point, saw me, came over and said how great this is in Crown Point. And so when I'm hearing those kind of comments, when we have parents here, thank you for being here, and principals for being here tonight, sharing this kind of information, this gets me excited. This is what education is all about. We have a lot of things to worry about and complain about and fight over at times, but when we're fighting things like this that work for kids, we need to expand it.
Sounds good. Thank you, parents.
Yeah. I just want to say that it sounds like it's something that, when you guys get up and do a presentation, you seem to be very, very excited about it. And that tells me that, you actually have confidence that it's working and it's doing, that everything is going well. But, from what I get too is that, it's going to increase parent involvement at home. and interaction with these children. And that's something that, you know, we've been trying to work on forever. So thank you guys for your efforts and all that you do. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Principals, thank you so much. I think we may have found the answer to get more parents involved in their children's education.
Mr. Mitchell, on that note, I do want to add in that not only is it helping the students, we had so many parents who came in saying, you know what, I can't even read, I can't even add, and now I can do it myself. So not only is it helping the children at home, it's helping those parents too. And that's why I really like this program.
That's cool.
What I was also going to ask is when you guys do your next one at either one of the schools, if you could maybe notify the board. And you know, I would love to sit in and just to watch the interaction and see how you guys are actually operating.
We can do that, definitely. Mr. Mitchell?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board reports, board members?
Mr. President, I just want to report that I did attend a celebration in Albuquerque with Secretary of State Chris Ruskowski, along with the governor, Superintendent Hyatt, Gerald, Mr. Horacek. Thank you guys for being there. And it was really great to see how the state was so excited for Gallup McKinley County Schools and seeing the job that they're doing to help our children. And you know, to me, being a part of that and of that celebration, and then being excited as they were for Gallup McKinley County, you know, it really made me feel good, and it made me really think about our school district and knowing that everything that is happening at this time, that we are going in the right direction, and I hope we continue and we have many more celebrations to attend. Thank you. Oh,
Sure.
okay. And then I also on that, you know, I did attend the New Mexico School Board Association leadership training, which was held in Taos. They had some really good training sessions this past one. You know, I've been to a couple others where they kind of like repeats, but this one the ones that I attended, they went really into in-depth things that were, you know, that really were beneficial to me. And I'm really glad that I was able to attend. And I would really like to thank and congratulate Ms. Carmen Moffett. She did do a presentation for one of the sessions on JOM. She did a very, very professional job. She was very well prepared. The people that attended the session, they interacted very well. So I just want to thank you very much for that. You did a great job. Thank you.
Gee, I wasn't able to make it to both of those events. I have a busy schedule, so sometimes there's other commitments that are already scheduled. Notices and communication. Board members, you can read those dates. Let's go down to new business, but before that, I'd like to thank Joan for helping us too. She's always helping us, keeping us on track, making sure I start at the right time and all that stuff, you know. New business A, approve the attached documentation to delegate administrative staff to conduct business on behalf of Gallup McKinley County Schools. Mike?
President Long, you have the information regarding, this is a document that we do every single year so that I am able to conduct some of the more minor things in the district, not that they're not important, but I think I'd like to add in some clarification on this. There's been some discussion about this in the media and in some of our situations that we're involved in, is that a school board cannot just give me all the power to do whatever I want. Or why have a school board? You have specific responsibilities and I have specific responsibilities under your oversight. This document just gives me the authority to act on behalf of the district for such things as employment contracts. When we hire somebody, I can sign on that rather than bringing it and having the board sign on that. Or something like we're purchasing some paper or whatever it might be, fixing a copier. I'm signing off on those types of things, or travel for staff, etc. This is not a document that gives me all the authority to do whatever we want as an administration for the school district. And so I want to make sure that there's a clarification that we still have to go through a process of procuring items. And when those items are over or under certain thresholds, that determines whether I can or I need to bring it to you to approve. So, for example, a PPT or like product, I have to go out for a bid, for a RFP, so that we can see what vendors are out there so we get the best price, best service that we possibly can. I have to then bring that to you for your approval, for example. I can't just sign off on that and spend tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars on that kind of product without going to you first. So again, I just want to make sure there's clarification on that. For those major items that I may have the authority to sign off on, I will definitely make sure that I bring those to you and let you know about those items. We do that every board meeting on all the purchases so that you're aware. And then again, for those larger items, obviously I'll come to you for approval before we procure those items completely. Any questions?
Board members, what is your pleasure?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the attached documentation to delegate administrative staff to conduct business on behalf of Gallup McKinley County Schools.
Okay, motion's been made by Michael Schaaf. Roll call. Joan?
Mr. Mitchell?
Yeah, yes.
Mr. Schaaf?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes. Okay, thank you, board members. Let's go down to new business B, approval of memorandum of agreement to provide Zuni language and cultural education between Pueblo of Zuni and Gallup McKinley County Schools. Mike?
President Long, members of the board, I'm going to invite Dr. Pauletta White up so she can answer more detailed questions, but I'll give a little bit of an overview. We've been working on agreements with all tribes and working on ways in which we can provide, no matter what culture you come from, what language you speak, that we provide more services to students in our school system to provide that education in that way. And so we have typically approximately 200 Zuni students that are in our school district. A significant number of those students attend school in Rama. And so as a part of the our education process, we need to have agreements with tribes, entities, especially when we're dealing with languages, and so that we have their approval and we have a mutual understanding of how that language is to be taught in the school system. So Dr. White, would you like to add anything else?
Mr. Hyatt, Mr. Long, members of the board and audience, what you have before you is the MOA, Memorandum of Agreement between our school district and Zuni Pueblo regarding the Zuni language program. Right now, the only school with the Zuni language program is at Rama Elementary and Rama Middle and High. Those who have the most concentrated area with Zuni students. So this is the first step of the building a more formalized partnership. This is the very beginning. There's a lot in that MOA. It talks about monitoring, language assessments, professional development, culturally relevant training for teachers, etc. But this is step one of that entire process. So, thank you.
Questions, board members?
Thank you. All right.
What is your pleasure?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the agreement to provide Zuni language and cultural education between the Pueblo of Zuni and Gallup McKinley County Schools.
Motion's been made. Roll call, Joan? By Michael Schaaf. Motion by Michael Schaaf. Roll call.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Schaaf?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes. Okay. Thank you, board members. Believe we've completed our business. What is the pleasure of the board?
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, a motion's been made by Michael Schaaf to adjourn. Roll call, Joan?
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Schaaf?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
6:54.
6:54, we're adjourned. And thank you, those that came to our meeting. Be careful going home, take care of yourselves. And we have, I guess, some good rain in certain areas.